Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Steady Focused. I'm your host, I'm your number one, Mr. SimeonHendrix, and in this episode, we're taking it back to my roots, and we are going to have a sit-down conversation with a man that I greatly respect. His name is Mr. Brandt Holmes, and when I say taking it back to my roots, I'm talking about music, all right? And this is a man who has dedicated his life to rock and roll. When you talk about steady focused, you talk about putting in the work, dedicating your life towards something. And this man has chosen rock and roll, or perhaps rock and roll has chosen him. We're going to talk about that. We're going to get into that with him and talk about the ups and the downs, a roller coaster of what it's like to live a rock and roll lifestyle. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me give a big, steady, focused welcome to my friend, Mr. Brandt Holmes.
What's up, Sim? It's good to see you, buddy.
It's good to see you too. How's the volume sound? Does that sound okay?
Everything sounds great.
All right, cool. Well, Brandt, let's just jump right into it, man. What projects are you working on right now?
Oh, man. Honestly, I've just been working to pay bills, but I've got my own solo thing going on, the singer-songwriter stuff. It's kind of blowing up around Wichita Falls. There's so many great musicians that do well just with a guitar and a microphone, and a lot of these guys have inspired me to not be so worried about trying to get a band going, that I can do most of it on my own and find a lot of passion in just, like I said, a guitar and a mic. And so I'm just doing the Brandt Holmes thing, not trying to do a project, betting on myself, I guess.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So.
And I love it, dude.
Yeah.
It's you and I spent a lot of very close times together. We were in talk about how you and I got intimate with each other.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, we got intimate. I believe I heard of your band downstairs when I was probably about 19 years old. A buddy of mine who used to hang out with y'all, Mike Abbey. And he's like, man, there's this band in Iowa Park that practices in this trailer. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we went and checked it out. And, you know, my first sight of you, I'm like, man, this guy looks like he's intense. So y'all are going and playing y'all's music. And I remember, like, when the breakdowns would happen in the song, the whole trailer would shake because everybody was just so into the music. And that was my first experience with downstairs. And I think years went by where we were both doing shows together, but I was in a different band. But always in the back of my mind, I was like, man, I would always love to be a part of that. And eventually I got my opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes. Learned how to play guitar just so I could play in y'all's
Was
band.
it really? Is that how you were? Okay. So
Yeah.
before that, you were vocals,
Just
and you
vocals.
had a guitar player with you.
Yeah, and I mean, I knew enough, but not enough to actually be a guitar player in a
Wow,
band. You know, I dabbled. So when Max said, hey, you should learn the guitar, join our band, I was like, man, you think I could do that? And honestly, I started putting in the hours, and
wow,
it proved to me that I was able to do anything I set my mind to. And I remember it being one of the most rewarding feelings once just you in general accepting me into that project. You know, I mean, all the other guys could have said yes, but it didn't mean anything unless you said it.
Okay.
Because that meant the world to me. It really did. I looked up to you, man. I mean, I may have not have been able to come in and be like some shredder on the guitar, but like I felt like I had passion in me, and I would let it out when I was playing with y'all.
Yeah.
And I felt like I may not have been the best, but I could have the most fun on stage.
Yeah, and you did put on a good show.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
and still do. So, yeah, you and I ended up with the guys in the band. You know, we toured around. We played a lot of huge shows.
Yeah.
And then I stepped out of music.
Yeah.
Maybe it's probably been close to 10 years now, 8 years, something like this.
I didn't realize it was that long,
Well,
man.
because Kingston, my son is 7, so it was a couple of years. So it was about 9 years.
Wow.
So I stepped out. You kept going. You've been straight doing it. Let's rewind. When did you first fall in love with the feeling of singing and someone, you know, that feeling of like, whoa, I'm into this feeling?
Started on the bass guitar because when my dad bought me this acoustic 6-string, I went and took lessons, and I guess the teacher was trying to have me learn things that I wasn't interested in. So I had moved over to the bass because it was substantially easier. I was playing with a buddy of mine, Darren Davis. He was kind of teaching me things here and there, and ended up with a small little group of guys where I was playing bass along with what they were doing. And a good buddy of mine, we haven't spoken in years, but I still consider him my brother, Philip McClung, was the rhythm guitar player, and he would sing. Well, there would be songs that he couldn't hit these notes, and for some reason I was always able to, and ended up going to a practice where he wasn't there, and I sang all the songs instead, and everybody was just like thrilled that like I'm the new singer. And that feeling reminded me of like why I was doing it in the first place. I almost didn't know why, and that feeling made me realize, well, this is this is why I want to do music now. Just that appreciation alone of when you're doing something that you love, but the feeling you get from other people really enjoying it, it makes it that much more rewarding. So I think that was the first time I realized singing was something that made me very happy.
And so before this, so I don't know, I'm just pulling this out of my head, but I'm guessing you were in junior high or high school. Around how old was it?
Yeah, it was junior high going into high school. I could name drop all the guys I was jamming with, but for the most part, it was a 5-piece band, and it got to where they realized they needed to get another bass player because I was going to be singing.
Wow.
So, it was going into high school because that's about when the time I had football and music going on, and they were both pretty balanced because you were a great football player too in high school.
But I didn't have music. I sang for myself.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I got into college that I went with the band.
Well, I think music found me early because of my brother, and he said the one thing that he wished he could always do was be able to play these instruments of the bands that he idolized, because it was always Metallica, Megadeth, and Pantera. And then I had a younger brother who was Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, and Soundgarden. So I got the best of both worlds going from late elementary into junior high into high school, to where I had enough buddies who were trying to get me to play, and because I just thought I wasn't going to be very good, so I always was timid and scared to really try. And once I started and saw how well I was doing, it definitely changed my life. And I guess probably junior year is when I put football on the back burner. Obviously, I'm 5'5", I wasn't going to be any kind of football star, but the music took number one priority soon in high school.
Okay, so we're looking at high school. I'm not going to give your age, but I know I'm going to give my age. I'm mid-30s, so
I'm
mid-30s.
Yes.
So if we're going, we're talking a straight 17, 18, 19. You're coming on 20 years.
Yeah.
Putting in the work. And so, see, guys, that's what I'm talking about. When I'm saying steady focused, I know this show really started out about Simeon's, documenting his growth as a photographer and literally focus. But I'm still doing camera work right here. I'm still failing, and learning and experimenting with audio and camera. But this has evolved into, I want to talk to people who are steady focused, who have dedicated their lives to something. And Brandt is a perfect example of that. And so, a lot had been going on in my life, and it'd been a minute since I'd really spent a lot of time with you. But now recently we're spending quite a bit of time.
Great conversations too that we've had recently. I've really enjoyed our conversations, and I'm just happy that you're interested in bringing me up here and and sharing with everybody some of the things that I've been focused on throughout my life, and it
shows, dude. It's seeing you now perform, because I know, you were with Downstairs, you went into Twice Broken, you went into 8 Minute Fall. You've been in a lot of huge bands in the Wichita Falls area, and you touched on it at the beginning when we were talking, but maybe you possibly had it in your mind that you had to have that band in order to be a success. But now you are succeeding, and just your musicality, your melody, your melodic, I don't know what those are real terms, but just seeing you on your own, standing there with that powerful fucking voice, great guitar, owning it, I'm like, dang, man, this guy is hot. I mean, you're doing it, man.
I appreciate it, man. And it's the scariest thing, just being a solo artist up there. I mean, you always have that band to kind of hide behind, so now you put it on your shoulders, but it's really what I've needed all along, because with projects not working out for whatever reason, at the end of the day, the conscience wants to blame others when you should just accept the failure and move on from it.
What's it like? What does it feel like when a band falls apart?
Oh my God. It feels like your parents divorced or your wife's divorce, like wanting to leave you, or, I mean, it's that bad. It really is, especially if you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it, I mean, it's, for me, at least for me, is what it feels like. I've always put my eggs in that basket. So when you break all of my eggs, I have no eggs, and I'm not happy about it. So, I tell you what, man, it's gut wrenching. That's probably the best term. Like the last project I was in, when things just fell apart, it actually cost a relationship for me, with someone I cared about. It's one of those things. It affects you at work. It affects you with your personal relationships with people, your friendships, because music is how I define myself. So if I don't have music, I don't have Brandt Holmes. And I mean, that's the best way for me to put it.
That's good, dude. I'm seeing So if you look back and you see a Brandt Holmes or Kingston, my son, a 7-year-old, and they're like 7, 8, 10, 15, you know, they're going down that road and they really are like, I want to walk the road of being a rock star.
Yeah.
What do you tell them?
Best advice, learn every instrument and try to put yourself in a position to always be able to just be a team player, and if not, put yourself in a position to where you're not relying on anybody ever. Because if you're just a drummer and that's all you've ever done, unless you're a studio drummer playing, you know, like being paid to record for bands, you really don't have much, because unless you're just doing YouTube videos playing along with music that you didn't write. Or if you're, you know, learn all the instruments and then put yourself in a position, maybe buy your own studio setup to where you can record your own music. So you're already putting it out there before you've maybe even played one note of it live. And I think that's my best advice, because you can sit there and get a band together, and if 2 guys aren't showing up every week and you can't find a replacement, they have power over you of not being able to achieve what you're wanting to get done. So it's pretty much set your goal and don't let anybody get in the way of it. If you want to be a rock star, you have to be willing to sacrifice everything in order to do it, but don't let anybody have power over how you're going to achieve that, because that'll be the biggest speed bump or roadblock or obstacle, whatever you want to call it, that you're going to face. And I've learned a lot of lessons about that. I think that's why I went from being a singer to going ahead and learning guitar and being just a guitar player in a band, and now I'm doing both, and I'm finding it so much more rewarding, because at the end of the day, I don't need a band. I can go busk on a street corner and play my music right there, raw and live. And there is something very freeing about that. And I feel like I have more power because I don't need anybody.
There you go.
So that's probably my best advice. I know that wasn't just one thing. It was kind of a mixture of stuff, but it's just being multi-capable to play all the different instruments allows you to have freedom to achieve your dream quicker.
What inspires you, man? Where are you? Maybe this could be inspiring for your songs that you're writing right now, or just inspiring you just to keep grinding it out.
Honestly, hard work and dedication. When I see other people, I mean, you know, you've been a big inspiration for me. You make me realize that getting up in the morning and knowing what it is that you're wanting to do, and knowing that maybe you failed trying to do that yesterday, is the reason why you get up, and it makes you work even harder the next day. Honestly, loving and losing, you know, like, relationships influence me. Unfortunately, I lost my mother, you know, like May 20th. And that's really been a big influence for me. At first, I thought it was going to drive me into the ground and make me not want to do anything. But really what it's done, it's making me work harder and made me realize that all she ever wanted was for me to be happy at doing what I loved. And it's kind of weird to say this, but like, I try to listen to my conscience like it would be her voice talking to me now.
Wow.
And that really pushes me. And between that, like I said, seeing the others around me that I want to be around who are working hard, a lot of it's just the musicians and friends that I've made in the last year. And all these local musicians have really pushed me and influenced me. I felt like our last band that I was in, we were kind of the top 40 kind of mainstream, and there's a lot of this raw talent, like underground indie alternative bands around here, and it's really influenced me in the way that I've been writing, because you've heard some of my songs. They don't sound like your standard top 40 songs. Some of them have a little bit of this country Billy kind of sound to it. I mean, I'll do a name drop. Clint Vines has been a huge influence to me. Yeah, it's almost like Texas outlaw kind of folky, acoustic-y kind of. I don't know. There's just something about it, and it I don't know. It's been a huge influence to me. I've seen them about 10 times, and I can honestly say they're one of my favorite bands right now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know. A lot of these bands have just pushed me, and I'm trying to find myself in all of that, which is really fun because I'm doing things that I've never done before, and I'm finding new ideas that I used to think were cheesy or possibly scary, and I'm just trying not to limit myself and put boundaries, because like I said, greatest feeling about being a musician is feeling free and powerful to do whatever you want. So,
and you said you're having fun.
Yes,
I mean,
having a lot of fun.
I just love hearing that. That energizes me and refreshes me, because it's super easy for me to get caught up in the checklist, getting shit done, whipping myself at times, even though I'm trying not to do that. I'm working really hard not to beat myself down, but just like remember just to have fun. I mean, shit, that we're working our asses off. Enjoy it.
Yeah, I would find myself not having fun when it started feeling like a job that I would dread, and that was like the worst feeling in the world, because like God or whatever force I feel like put us on this earth in order to do this. Like we had a purpose, and if you can't find joy in it, there's a hole deep inside of you that there's a huge void that it's going to affect everything. It's going to affect anything that you care about, because you can't have fun with your number one passion. And it stems, it spider webs to all the rest of your life, and it affects it deeply. So not being happy when you're playing music means that you're just not happy in general.
Before I take you off of the mic, any other thoughts you have on your mind? Anything else you'd like to share or talk about?
Well, honestly, I'm just glad. I'm glad you and I have kind of reconnected. I mean, you were doing the family thing, Kingston, raising him and all that. It was just nice that I've been able to see you a lot more, and we've been able to catch up and really have some great conversations. We've talked about your father and some of the epiphanies that he's had, and how I've been using those in my everyday life, and the things that you've been talking about with me. And I won't go into detail about any of that, but
shout out Tom Hendrix.
Yes. Tom, I love myself, man. I love myself. And I love you.
There you go. That's a big one. You guys hear me talk about that. I love myself. And yeah, that's one that he had an epiphany at 71 years old. Like, oh my gosh, I love myself. That's a key to it.
Yeah, I think it's the key to everything, honestly. It's the key to make other people happy in your lives, because they can feed off the energy that you're giving, because love is probably what the most powerful energy there is. I mean,
that's good.
Yeah, I mean it's contagious. It really is. And when you love yourself, others love you, and then you're able to love others, because you can't love others without loving yourself. And it's kind of a no-brainer when you think about it, but some people will go their whole lives forgetting to actually love themselves, because they're so caught in a routine of doing for others. And it's kind of like that whole idea that when you're in an airplane and something happens and the air masks come down, you're supposed to put yours on before you help your children, you know, or help anybody else. You have to put yours on, and it's kind of that idea. You can only do so much for others, you know, before it takes a toll on you without, you know, so you have to concentrate on yourself. At the end of the day, as harsh as it really is, you're the only person that's gonna die when you die, you know. So at the end of the day, make sure yourself is taken care of. I mean, physically, mentally, you know, spiritually, emotionally, all those things. And just being able to talk about those types of subjects with you when we're at the pub or something, having a couple of beers, while everybody else is just, you know, being belligerent. I might be belligerent, but at least we're having a really cool, deep conversation.
All right, guys, so here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to hand over the guitar to Mr. Brandt Holmes, and he's going to hit us with a song or two.
I'm going to eat a dumpling real quick from Gypsy Uncorked.
I was trying to make a killing, doing the best I could. I was living on a death without a prayer. So I held on for the time of my life. I'm still holding on till the day I die. Till the day I die. Every day it seemed to struggle. No relief could be found. But I got back up every time I hit the ground. So I held on for the time of my life. I'm still holding on till the day I die. Till the day I die. So I held on for the time of my life. I'm still holding on till the day I die. So I held on for the time of my life. I'm still holding on till the day I die. Till the day I die. Till the day I die. Till the day I die.
Man, so there you go.
That's
Mr. Brandt Holmes. I'm Mr. SimeonHendrix. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. What you're going to see this, tune in Friday, steady focused Fridays. This is Mr. Brandt Holmes. I'm Mr. SimeonHendrix. We appreciate you guys so much. Brandt, you're the man.
You're the
Thank
man,
you.
Simeon. Love y'all, Wichita Falls.
Love you guys. Love you guys. Love you guys. Until next time, I'm your host. I'm your number one, Mr. SimeonHendrix. And this is Steady Focused.